The Road by Cormac McCarthy. So I had already seen the movie before I read the book. But when I picked up the book, I just couldn't put it down, man. I stayed up late last night to read it, and I got up early this morning to finish it. And it's not very long. It's not very long. So there's like less than 300 pages in this copy, and as you can see, some of the pages are just they're not dense with text. See, like half that page is not even covered. There's no chapters. But there are constant breaks in the text. Constantly, just paragraph after paragraph. And that's how it's written. Just like very short episode after episode. Scene after scene. And when I've heard people describe text as sparse and brutal, that's what this is. So, and I heard somebody say that the text in The Road is similar to what the characters are allowed to take on their journey, the bare minimum. So, in that way, the text adds to the story. The writing, it adds to the story because it's pretty minimalist writing. There are a few instances of very short, very small poetic digressions, like a sentence or two, but it's all action. And yeah, like I said, I've seen the movie, but there are episodes in the book that couldn't be in the movie, I don't think. It would be pretty gruesome. It would be pretty horrendous. But yeah, it was very dark. But overall, I think the story is, to me, it's about a father's love. And to me, it was a lot about God. I mean, the man in the story, he's resentful with God. He lives in this post-apocalyptic world where ashes are constantly falling from the sky and the sun doesn't shine. Him and his son are traveling through America on this road. So there's no names of the characters. There's no named destination that they're heading towards. And I think that adds to the story. They're going to the sea. They're traveling to the coast. They think if they get to the coast, they can find other people. And, but the man, he's so guarded. He just wants to protect his child. He wants to protect his son and get his son to somewhere hopefully safe or as far along the road as possible. And that's what he does. But like I said, it's clearly about a father's love. This father is trying to protect this son. He sees it as sacred. There's a really good line in the book, and it said, if this child isn't the word of God, then God never spoke. And that's how he feels about his son. His son was born right as the world falls apart. I would estimate he's probably like 7. Just by the questions that he asks and kind of the state of awareness he is and the father's reaction to some of the things he says. He busts out with a new phrase that the father never heard him say. And the father's like, oh, where'd you pick that up at? And it just reminded me of a pretty young child. He's old enough to speak and think and have ideas and make his own judgments about the moral condition of his father. And so I think he's about 7 years old. So the boy, he does speak of God. And he does have a lot of compassion for the people that he sees on the road. He doesn't want his father to kill anyone. He wants to help people. they see an old man on the road. They could easily just pass this old man and leave him in the dust. But the boy is like, can we help him? Can we help him? Can we feed him? Can we take him with us? And the father's like, yeah, we'll feed him, but he can't come with us. It's not possible. They get robbed. And even still, the boy is like, oh, they get robbed. This dude takes everything that they have. And they catch up to the dude and they take everything he has, even the shirt off his back and the shoes off his feet. And the boy is crying. He's like, we just killed him. We took everything he had. He's just scared. He's scared. He's lonely. He's going to die out here. And so they go back and they leave the clothes and the shoes back in the road. But anyways, I say that to say, I do think it is a lot about God. Now, it's not explicit and it's not one way or the other. It's definitely not Christian, but it's not atheist either. Obviously the father is struggling with God. He's very resentful. His world has fallen apart and he has to try to raise his son in the most extreme conditions possible. Think of the worst thing that you can think of in your mind, the worst crime against humanity. It's in the book. And the boy has to witness that. So, the father is trying to protect him from that. And, and in a way, the father's relationship with God is kind of, in some ways, developing the son's relationship with the father. He obviously doesn't agree with, he obviously doesn't agree with everything that's happening. He wishes it could be different. The boy lives in a different world than the father knows, His father has seen the world fall apart. He knows what a Coca-Cola is, He knows what it's like to own a car and have a job and go to the grocery store and just live in a society that's reasonably trustworthy and safe. The boy has no knowledge of these things, so at one point it says his son must look at him like an alien from a different world. But man, it's a page turner, man. I couldn't put it down. Just couldn't put it down, man. I think it's a lot deeper than it appears to be on first sight. I think you could take a lot from it. You could look very deeply into it. But I think people try to avoid, in this day and age, people try to avoid that topic of God in literature, unless it's like explicitly some Christian thing, and then it kind of becomes cheesy and corny to me. But I think this is a very good representation of a man's struggle with the world and the divine presence or lack of presence in the world. He can see God through his son. At one point, he tells this old man, what if this is the last God? What if he's the last God? Talking about the boy. And the old man is like, oh, that would be the worst thing possible. If this is a God, this is not even a good enough place for man. But there's a few pieces of humor in the book, which I thought were pretty funny. It's just like there's a very few moments of comic relief, and the book is so horrible. The atmosphere is so austere and deadly that I think it makes the humor, that much more funnier. But there's very little of that. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this up. This was my introduction to Cormac McCarthy. As soon as I finish this book, I'm like going onto my library app and trying to reserve Blood Meridian and All the Pretty Horses. So I really look forward to reading more of Cormac McCarthy. Because I've seen the movie before, but the book blows it out the water. It's so good that it doesn't matter if you've seen the movie before. The book is a different experience.